Done. Part 2 for Anna. There's 2 buttons. I never guess which one. Okay. Okay, so stacking in your energy from our emails, our correspondence. I am now 100% Anna. And hold. Okay, so what percentage are we into Anna's energy? To 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 to 60 to 70 to 80 to 90 to 100? Is there any level of the brain that doesn't want us to work on Anna's issues? So unconscious, subconscious, conscious. So we're 100% willing and able to work on Anna's energy, yes. Okay, so where's the best spot to start for Anna? Do we need to go adrenal, survival, hidden deep survival, celestial circuit with psychological reversal, okay. Get into unconscious, subconscious, conscious, okay. But we start with the celestial circuit and the psychological reversal patterning. Okay, so let's see where your center of gravity is at. So it's supposed to be here, hold nice and strong. No. So let's go have a look. And hold. Actually, that's not bad. It's sort of like either close to a second from a first or on its way to third from a second, but it's definitely around the second stage stress. And hold. Yeah, right. So it's around the second level of stress, which means your nervous system is working. It's took us off, like it's constantly switched on, trying to keep you center and balanced. Okay. And it's the masculine side of your energy that's totally exhausted. So having to stand in your power, having to make all the decisions, having all of the responsibility, that side is just totally schmozzled and exhausted. So we'll just bring that back into balance with the best technique. Can you feel pain? Yeah, right, okay. Don't want a pillow onto your knees?
No, that's fine. It's just as you
yeah, right.
It's sort of it's going from there to the ground.
So energetically it's, pulling out. And sometimes our energy doesn't want to get back into balance either.
So too.
Okay.
Sorry.
No. So these little spots are all tender at the moment, Anna?
That one not so much. That one definitely not that one. That's weird. You can feel like a ping from this side to that side.
Wow. Have you ever felt this with the celestial circuit balancing before? Interesting.
That's weird. That is a big.
Yeah, so there might just not have been blood supply correctly circulating for a while. Just bring in those emotional stress release points. Allow that energy to come to the frontal cortex.
It kind of feels like a very slow swirl.
From side to side, or?
Yeah, it's kind of going like. And it's more noticeable on the left So it starts on the right and swirls to the left. So more noticeable on the left side.
Logic.
Is that like more like on the inside of the head than on the outside?
And hold. Hold. Okay. So that's brought the centre of gravity back into balance. Let's just check this little guy. Yeah, nice and rock solid back in here. Interesting. So now, in relation to the energetic healing we're after, let's just make sure there's no psychological reversal statements that are going to hold us back. Want, need, think, safe. Want, need, think, safe, believe, deserve, trust. So safety and trust. Yeah, just double checking. Okay, it is safe for me to let go of this problem. And hold. It is safer for me to keep this problem. Hold. I trust I can let go of this problem. I trust it's better for me to keep this problem. Okay. So, is that energy, is it really messing with your adrenal, survival, deep survival, hidden deep survival? Do we need a balance on that, or we need it just in there as energy? Okay, so we just need that information in there before moving forwards. Do we need to go into survival, hidden deep survival, or are we happy to get straight into the brain? Yep, okay. So should we go into the connections from left to right sides of the brain, including the glial cells? Yep. Core formatting out. Let's see what tests up. Okay, so there's a few different formats we can do for the glial cells. We'll see which ones test up for you. Okay, so this one, is that the optimal one? Oh, so we just start with this one. Okay. That was easy. Okay, so corpus callosum commissure. And hold. Now with each one, no apologies. It is what it is. So each time, I need to hold that on there. Okay. Lift your head, and down, and hold. So that's corpus callosum neuromuscular and the cortical format. Next one, the anterior commissure. And hold. And then the anterior commissure limbic format. And hold. So as we get started, there's not a lot of connection from left to right sides of your brain, Anna. Anterior commissure amygdala format. And hold. Anterior commissure, anterior nucleus group of the thalamus. And hold. And hippocampal commissure. And hold. So none of the major left-right connections are working from one nuclei to the other, and the core processing areas that go from left to right sides of the brain aren't working properly either. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 areas that just aren't connecting from left to right sides of the brain. When we're in PTSD and trauma, most of the energy is in the rear of the brain, so the frontal cortex and a lot of these nuclei sort of shrink and just wait for life to get back to normal. Okay, so now we're going to check in relation to some main things. So in relation to trust and trust issues. And hold. Not a lot of that going on. And in relation to appreciation. And hold. That's not so bad. Let's just, there was a little unlock, so let me just double check. In relation to self-appreciation. Hold. In relation to appreciation of others. Hold. In relation to appreciation of life. Hold. Okay, so then at the mental level, we're just going to check thought fields. So with thought fields, it's everything going on around. So the thoughts that become, they're sort of like, sorry? Yeah, thoughts, you know, they become feelings, they become actions, you know, so the thoughts sort of come before a whole bunch of stuff. So let's check any and all thought fields. Hold. There was an old book a million years ago called Fake It Till You Make It, Susan Jeffers. It'll come. It'll come. Okay, the next thing we need to check is oxygen. And hold. So that's probably the weakest so far. So there's 3 different spots that we do just to sort of calm down the trauma, whatever it's been, that's actually stopped the oxygen. So we'll see which one we need to do with you. Hold. And the second one. Hold. Nope. And hold. Okay, so it's stomach 36 on the outside of the legs. If you do want to hold those while we're doing the balance, just down and out from the knee. So this is helping just to increase oxygen to those little areas of the brain that we've got stacked into place, all of those left-right connections. Those different parts of the brain. Yeah, right. Probably hasn't had oxygen for a while. Okay. So now we need to go into the perineural system and just stack that in. Sorry. I know. And hold. So the perineural system, that's the system of what's around the neurons. So around the neurons is stressed as well, so just in general. So now we're going into glial cells to see whether any of these are playing up. And hold. Yep, okay. So now we'll go find which glial cells are misbehaving. So there is a, do you want to touch these instead of me? Does it make it any better?
No. You'll be faster than me.
Yeah, you'd be all over the place.
I'll be sneezing and carrying on.
Hold? No?
I'll just close my eyes.
Good thinking. Hold. Okay. So this first one that's showing up is oligodendrocytes. So with each one, there's just some information. I'm just going to have a squiz through, muscle test what we need to read out, just to give a little bit of context and information. Oligodendrocytes are the second most common type of glial cells in the brain, so they're about 9 to 14% of the glial cells. Their cells are found in both grey and white matter of the brain, and the cell bodies are often set off to the side of their protoplasmic extensions that secrete myelin. It's about myelin secretion. Okay. So myelin is a whitish coloured fatty acid that coats neurons, which provides electrochemical insulation and is a substance that makes white matter white. The process of sheathing the dendrites and axons when myelin is called myelination, and as the developing brain matures, maturation is largely due to increasing degrees of myelation. So all of that's testing up. So there's something about your neurons and the myelination that's really being affected probably by stress and trauma of the last couple of years. What did you say?
Yeah, insulation.
Yeah.
The myelin coat is the insulation. So it's like taking the plastic coating off and then let it warm up.
Yeah. No. That seemed to be what the energy that your body needed to know about that. Do we need any more information about the oligodendrocytes? Okay. So now let's stack in the next one. And hold. Okay, so this one's microglia. Microglia are only about 1% of the glial cells, and they are the immune system within the brain. So every night when we go to sleep, our brain's supposed to shrink by about 20%, and it basically gets this fluid, goes through the brain and tries to help it to heal and repair and detox. When we don't sleep well, that little process doesn't happen properly. So microglial cells are the immune system of the central nervous system and they're involved in inflammation of the brain. So when our brain's inflamed, that's when we get things like depression and anxiety, and PTSD creates a huge amount of trauma in the brain. And so microglia will be involved in a whole bunch of that. Okay, so involved in inflammation in the brain. Microglia only makes it up about 1% of the central nervous system glial cell population, and as long as there's no immune challenges to the brain, they're inactive. Okay, so we don't need to know that. Oh, okay. No, this one did need to be said. Since invading bacteria and viruses, unlike invading soldiers, can rapidly multiply their numbers, they can overwhelm this limited microglial garrison. So maybe there's been some infection that's crossed the blood-brain barrier because stress makes the blood-brain barrier more porous. So this is the reason brain infections are so dangerous and often lethal, for example, bacterial or viral meningitis. But they've known for a long time that it's just not the big infections that cross the blood-brain barrier, lots of things do. Don't need any more information about that. Yeah, right, okay, so here as well. Activated microglial cells secrete a number of cytokines. For example, interleukin 1 alpha, and also tumor necrosis factor. So tumor necrosis factor alpha, and other cytokines and prostaglandins. While necessary to quell the invaders, some of these substances are also neurotoxic, including glutamate, oxygen-free radicals, and TNF alpha, and thus neurons may be directly damaging by inflammatory reactions in the central nervous system. All of that's muscle testing up, so something's going on there. So the microglia are involved in some inflammation in your brain at the moment. Okay, also this bit. Excessive release of interleukin and TNF alpha may induce endothelial cells to open the blood-brain barrier, allowing leukocytes into the brain, resulting in massive inflammation that can cause damaged neurons and even resulting in death. Don't listen to that bit. I should stop these sentences before the end of them. But what that often means is that we need to, really be focusing more than anything on an anti-inflammatory diet and sort of processes in your life that are anti-inflammatory. So things like, walking and exercise and yoga and meditation and prayer and Wim Hof technique and all sorts of things like that, just sort of get as many, as well as 600 grams of fresh fruit and veggies a day, and just making sure you just try to do what you can do, the wild caught fish and that sort of thing. Okay, so I think something's crossing the blood-brain barrier, making the microglia really
upset.
upset. Okay, so now next one. So hold. Oh, that one's fine. That's ependymal cells. Hold. They're the Schwann cells.
No.
And hold. And the satellite cells. So the ones in the peripheral nervous system seem to be okay, but it's the oligodendrocytes, microglia that are the two worst out of everything. Okay, so now what's next? Okay, so we, oh right, there's a little brain synchrony thing that just sort of, you know, because everything's frequencies in the body. So we just need to ask the body, actually I'll show you it. Hold. No, does not like that. Hold. No. Okay, so is there a number of seconds? Do we need it on the body? Do we need it above the body? Do we need to just be looking at it? Do we need anything else with that? Okay. And for how long? So okay, about 15 seconds. Now rechecking. Color. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so neurotransmitters. Okay. So these first couple are noradrenaline, messing with your serotonin. So the expectation of long-term stress, making it hard for you just to relax and feel easy and carefree. And with a little daughter, it's sort of a shame that because it makes it harder. It makes it just harder to relax and be cheerful and have fun. When the body's just has this expectation of stress long term. Okay, so is it serotonin? Is it oxytocin? Is it dopamine? Oxytocin. So oxytocin is also a bit low. So oxytocin is that feel-good hormone that is to do with feeling loved, feeling cared for. When we hug a kid that we love, that's the feeling we get. It's oxytocin release. When we see anyone we love and we get that feeling of well-being. That's an oxytocin release. Yeah, unless you've had to drink a bottle of wine to get there. Okay. So for you, there's vigilance when the body even goes to create oxytocin. So something must be quite screwed up in your neurotransmitters, where the nervous system is stressed when you feel the oxytocin. So when there's been trauma, sometimes it doesn't want us to go into a place feeling carefree and happy and loved, because what if it gets dragged away? Yeah,
Not
vulnerability. And safety and trust were the two big things at the beginning. Okay, so now we'll go in and check the adrenal survival switch and that sort of thing. And hold. Yeah. So all of that together is messing with your adrenals, and when your adrenals high, you have high cortisol. Cortisol shuts down the brain and it makes it harder for your brain to heal and to relax. So cortisol will keep those neurotransmitters flowing that are making the brain think that everything's not safe. Hold. Okay, that's survival, that's okay. Hold. That's deep survival, that's okay. Hold. Right. So that's hidden deep survival, not okay. So that's the mama bear thing. So, you know, you're just trying to get through moment by moment, all day, every day. All the balls are in the air, but don't you send me one more ball. You know, I'm sort of juggling everything I can. So, yeah, so this is a deep hidden survival pattern. So it's the sensory nervous system is overrun, and it doesn't want to feel one more thing. Okay. But even with that, your brain is picking on yourself for not being perfect under stress. So it's the anterior cingulate cortex, and this is the little part of the brain that wants you to be perfect all the time under stress. So it's limbic 21, kidney 27s.
No, this one.
And hold. It makes the brain want to run away, not feeling perfect. Okay, next little area showing up is the orbitofrontal cortex, limbic 2315s. And hold.
Get one of them.
So this one is all about conflict. And living in Victoria the last 2 years, there'd be no conflict whatsoever. Happiest place on earth to live. Oy. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so this is all about conflict. And especially when you're someone who is a thinker, yeah, sorry, my brain, I just, you know, it'd be nice to dumb myself down just to be able to not be a thinker, but just can't get there. Now that area is showing up again. So I'm going to go into the Applied Physiology manual because it just tells me that there's another layer, or maybe we need to connect the orbitofrontal cortex to another nuclei or something. No, there it is. Okay, so triple heater 1. Some outside of the ring fingers. And hold. So this one is to do with an imbalance with sleep and insomnia. So it can be anything from being tired all day because you've got no energy with chronic fatigue, to never being able to sleep through the night, to having your time clock being totally out of whack. But it's basically when that whole melatonin, serotonin thing doesn't happen properly the way it's supposed to. Well, the way it could on a perfect planet, you know, without all the blue lights and all the crazy stuff that messes with our melatonins, like 5Gs and we. Okay, the next little area is showing up as well, the subclossal gyrus. Actually, I've got this sitting right in front of me, so. Okay, so the nuclei we need to go to a stomach one. Now this one with the subclossal gyrus is to do with feeling like you have to be submissive and docile, or there's been some sort of codependency go on. So when we, and once again, the last 2 years has shown us that if ever there's a time on the planet to look at what we're dependent on and whether we want to continue being dependent on it, it's a tough one. No, okay, good. Just that one layer of the subclossal gyrus. Okay. So back to the sympathetic, no, back to the periventricular survival system. Okay, there's another reticular activating circuit.
Oh.
Making the nose wiggle. Okay, so this one's noradrenaline again. Okay, so this time the noradrenaline, so that expectation of long-term stress, is activating the part of the brain that just wants to focus your attention on what's going wrong because you don't want it to keep going wrong. But as you know, the whole power of attraction, when you're focused on what can go wrong, you're more likely to attract more of what's going on. And you're less likely to see solutions when that little part of the brain's so active. No, relax, relax, relax. You'll give yourself a cramp. Well, I'm projecting. I would give myself a cramp. Anything else in the periventricular survival system? Nope. Let me have a squeeze and make sure. I'm going to check the switch. Oh yeah, there's something going on there. Okay. So this is just a deep survival switching flowchart, so it's just going to let me know where things are still a bit jammed. Okay, so even though deep survival switching showed up okay before, it's saying that I need to check the 3 pillars on the spine, so I'm just going to go check them. Okay, so the third one. Feeling discontentment, deprived, satisfied or unsatisfied, unsatisfied, disgust, and bitter. Okay. So that's stomach energy in the earth element. So that whole imbalance with sympathy and empathy and where it goes, and sometimes it's just not there. I'll just do it above the body. So it's top bottom switching. So top and bottom of the brain are struggling communicating. Do we need to stack in any more psychological reversal points at this point? And do we do it before the thalamus? Yeah. Okay, so want, need, think, safe, believe, deserve. So this time it's deserve. I deserve to let go of this problem. Hold. I deserve to keep this problem. Okay. Want, need, think, safe, believe, deserve, trust. So it's the only one, deserve here. So now we need to go into the thalamus again. So we stack the thalamus in right at the beginning as one of the pathways, but I'm going to check it specifically in relation to trust, appreciation, thought fields. So and hold, trust, hold, appreciation, hold, thought fields, hold, and oxygen, and hold. Right, wow. And oxygen was the worst again. Did you feel that? Interesting.
It just went weak.
So when the thalamus shows up in this particular spot, so I need to pulse these little guys, the thalamus is like the transmitter for the brain. It takes everything in, everything we're seeing, feeling, touching, doing, and then it decides where in the brain the information goes. So when we've got thalamic reticular switching going on, which is what this is showing, the brain doesn't know where stuff is supposed to go. So if you're running on trauma and stress hormones because your days are just going from one to the next to the next to the next, and you've got, ADHD and brain fog and, being on antidepressants and all sorts of stuff, then the brain has no idea where to send information. As a general rule, it's going to really remember the bad stuff because it doesn't want you to keep going through it. It'll be much harder for the brain to remember any good stuff. Because your brain's trying to protect you. It's trying to go, no, remember all this bad stuff really, really clearly. Sort of sucks. And hold, okay. So just the one there. Okay, I'll just go back and double check if there's anything in the periventricular survival system again. Actually, did we need to check the logical side of the brain? Do we need to check the gestalt side of the brain? No. Oh, and let's just stack in anything to do with the sixth sense as well. Okay, so the anterior cingulate gyrus is showing up again. That's the one that wants you to be perfect under stress. Now, as a mama lion, that's what you want. You want everything to be as good for your daughter as you possibly can.
Those things as well.
And we saw the kidney 27s. Hold out. Yeah, so this little part of the brain, it's to do with social expression of your survival stuff. So when we're under stress, how we respond shows how well our brain stays integrated under stress. There's a real fear in there. It's also about moral evaluations and judgments, so how we evaluate ourselves when we're stressed as well as other people when they're stressed. So when it's out of balance, we can get really stuck and obsessive and hold on to old stuff and be argumentative and uncooperative. We can just worry constantly. I'd say just not living your best life when we get stuck in there. Okay, what else do we need? Okay, another RAS circuit.
Yummy.
Mhm.
Oh.
Oh yeah. So is it the acetylcholine with other ones like glutamate or cortisol? So it's acetylcholine. Okay. So the acetylcholine is what makes you awake and wakeful during the day, but it also is what keeps you alert for stress and trauma. So it does a bit of both. And it's creating vigilance in your nervous system.
Sounds like that.
Mm-hmm. Good old reticular activating system. So, I'm sort of surprised. RAS is showing up again. I'm going to go check the glial cells in relation to RAS, just out of curiosity. Guess this is about the, I don't know, 4, 5, 5, 6 circuit. So let's just go have a poke around. Do we need to check the RAS in relation to trust, appreciation, thought field, oxygen? Nope, nope, nope. Perineural system, glial cell, yes. Okay, so.
That's all.
Yeah, right.
That's all.
Hold. Okay, close your eyes again. Hold. Hold. So that's the oligodendrocytes again. Do we need to put any information in at this point? No. Hold. No, that's microglia, that's okay. Oh, ependymal cells, they're good. Oh, hello, Schwann cells. Okay. Oh, Schwann cells. I can't remember where the ones that myelinate, or is that satellites in the peripheral nervous system? One of them does the myelination of the peripheral nervous system. The other one does something else.
I remember the Schwann more than the satellite.
You do?
Mm.
Okay, little
But I don't
Schwann.
know what for. Maybe it's SCH-A-N, I think.
Yeah. Need to put little doodads on the different pages. Ah, they're not in order. Schwann. Okay, so Schwann cells are glial cells of the peripheral nervous system and basically replace the oligodendrocytes of the central nervous system. Where a single oligodendrocyte may myelinate, it's myelination, may myelinate several different axons. Each Schwann cell wraps around a segment of individual axons again and again, creating a compact, highly myelinated sheath of the axon or dendrite from a sensory neuron. Schwann cells come in two forms with differing functions, myelinating and myelinating. That word looks exactly the same. Anyway, myelinating and myelinating. In the central nervous system, the dendrites are generally unmyelinated, whereas the dendrites of sensory neurons in the peripheral nervous system that extend from the sensory receptor to the spinal cord are often highly myelinated for high-speed transmission of the sensory information to the CNS. Right, so myelination is an issue. You've probably got that because before it was one of the ones in the central nervous system, now we've got the same issue going on in the peripheral nervous system. So it means that as your neurons are firing and trying to get, so you know, you think about the ADHD, for example. With ADHD, we can't focus. Well, probably depends whether you've got ADD or ADHD, and I know it's undiagnosed. But if you can't sit down and focus on something for all without getting distracted, what's going on with those neurons? You know, are they waiting, you know, so for something to happen? Anyway, so it's sort of like we need to get that myelination happening, so hopefully this will just make some really nice integration going on in your brain.
And the difference with the axon and the dendrite, the axon is the major part of the neuron, not the long part of the neuron. The dendrites are the little tangents at the end with the little foot suckers where the acetylcholine jumps across the little gap. The synapse.
You should listen to Jackie's podcast. You'd probably love it because I did the glial cell stuff 12 years ago, and when she was chatting about it the other night, I know they didn't know all that when I did it 12 years ago. Because a lot of the stuff, and that's probably all correct. I just know that what they now think neurons did, a lot of it's glial cells. And so as she was, you know, because her knowledge is really up there because she teaches it, and hanging around Charles for 25 years, she's got a good brain on that head of hers, in that head of hers. Okay, so now let's go see what we need to do. Okay, so once again, adrenals, survival, deep survival, hidden deep survival. Yes, our oscillation chakra, essence, cranial, chickies, tuning fork combo. Okay, so I might just pause and then start again for the tuning fork combo.